As I've been doing research, looking at various books that I have, various brochures and catalogs, and trying to make a decision as to which lighthouse I should take a look at next. So I was getting a bit overwhelmed because there were so many lighthouses. And I started thinking and saying that, well, I'm not that far from Cape Cod, and Cape Cod has a lot of lighthouses. And then something occurred to me that said, well, why not go to Cape Cod and visit the Nauset Lighthouse? For those of you unfamiliar, Cape Cod Potato Chips are produced and distributed by a company in Hyannis, Mass. And the lighthouse on the package here is actually the Nauset Lighthouse. So that's the one we're going to take a look at. The Nauset Lighthouse is actually listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The current structure is made of cast iron with a brick lining and stands 48 feet high. It was built in 1877 and was located in Chatham as a twin to the lighthouse that currently resides there. In the 1940s, Nauset Lighthouse was painted red and white as a day marker. As we know, the outward appearance of the tower serves as a daytime navigation aid. But what about evening navigation? That is, what about the light pattern? Well, in 1981, its Fresnel lens was replaced by 2 rotating arrow beacons. The signal was changed from 3 white flashes to 1 red and 1 white flash, with 5-second intervals between them. As noted, the characteristic of this lighthouse was originally 3 white flashes. This was due to the lighthouse serving as a replacement for the 3 sisters. The story of the 3 sisters is quite interesting, and I will post a separate video to share this information with you. To understand why there are 3 lights at the Nauset Lighthouse, we have to go beyond Nauset Beach and realize that there are additional lighthouses off Cape Cod. Highland Light, also known as Cape Cod Light, is located in Truro, and it consists of a single light tower with a stationary beam shining out to sea. Chatham Light was built with 2 light towers, each with a stationary beam, and due to the prevalence of shipwrecks in the Eastham area, the 3 sisters were built. This light station consisted of 3 15-foot towers, 150 feet apart. Each housed a single stationary lamp. Hence we have 1, 2, and 3 lights to distinguish the different lighthouses. So the difference in the number of lights served as the characteristic of each light station, allowing mariners to determine their location or position relative to the Cape. Although the lighthouse fascinates those who see it from the outside, a visit inside the lighthouse provides insight as to its inner workings. Remember that the Preservation Society allows visitors to tour the inside of the lighthouse and ascend to the upper rooms of this structure. Also note that the lighthouse is kind of a mini museum. Contained inside are informational displays about its illuminance, the Fresnel lens, and the modern automatic bulb changer. From within the watch room, below the lantern room, you can examine the rotating beacons. You are also able to catch a wonderful view of the ocean from this elevated location. A hole has been cut through the floor, which allows a view of the spiral staircase. Although we have mentioned 3 lighthouses on the Cape, Highland, located in Truro, the Chatham Lighthouse, and the Three Sisters, which has been replaced by the now red and white Nauset Lighthouse, these are by no means the only lighthouses on the Cape. There are others, and we may visit some of these in future videos. But the presence of many lighthouses on Cape Cod may cause you to ask the question of, why are there so many lighthouses? Consider that when these lighthouses were constructed, there was a need to travel from points south, like New York, to Boston. If we consider such travel today, it seems quite simple. It requires just a few hours of driving on the interstate. However, if we look back a couple of centuries, there were no land highways available for such travel. It was necessary to transport supplies and passengers via sea travel. Those of you who have visited Cape Cod via a land route have probably passed over the Cape Cod Canal. Now, this waterway provides a more navigable and shorter route to Boston and points north. Well, the canal was not always there. Although the possibility of such a waterway was considered in the 1600s, construction of such a waterway was not feasible for a long time. Thus, the only way to get to Boston via sea was to travel around Cape Cod. Such travel meant passing over some rough waters and difficult conditions. This is the reason so many lighthouses were constructed over the years. Remember that we mentioned the need for a lighthouse in Eastham due to the high number of shipwrecks. I hope you found this presentation to be informative. There's much more that can be said about this lighthouse, but I don't want to overwhelm you with its history. I do, however, welcome your comments and suggestions for making future videos, and also if you visited the Nauset Lighthouse, let us know by leaving a comment, and let us know if we missed anything. Now, I strongly encourage those of you who are able to visit the lighthouse in person. They have tours, and the folks now responsible for its survival can add much more than I've presented here. Let me conclude by offering a little background information about these folks. Historically, many of the lights that have preceded Nauset eventually fell prey to coastal erosion. Nauset was no exception, being less than 50 feet away from the cliff on which it stood by the early 1990s. There was a proposal to decommission the lighthouse, and the public didn't want to stand for this. So the Nauset Light Preservation Society was formed. The tower and its oil house were relocated further away from the cliff's edge, and by 1997, the Nauset Light was back in working condition. If you'd like to find out more about the lighthouse and these folks in the Preservation Society, direct your web browser to www.nausetlight.org. If you found the video interesting, give us a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel. I plan to put a few more videos about lighthouses on the channel in the near future.